World War II. It was a catastrophic event that most of the world has heard of. Today, we are looking into the longest battle within World War II, the Battle of the Atlantic. From 1939 to 1945, the Allied forces fought the German forces for control of the Atlantic Ocean. Looking at this chart, one can assume that the Allied forces would easily sweep the German and Italian forces. However, this conflict still managed to last for almost 6 years. The Allied forces won in the end, and so we shall explore how this battle started and ended, and what role Canada played throughout this battle. We will also compare how naval warfare has changed between World War I and World War II.
The cause of the Battle of the Atlantic came from the Germans' intentions to sink merchant ships heading towards the Allied forces. The British was highly dependent on supplies exported from Canada, the US, and this made the supply lines a worthy target for the Germans. In addition, the small and fairly weak Canadian Navy was no match against the advanced German Navy and their Wolfpack tactics. The Wolfpack was a naval tactic that required Germany to use U-boats to patrol and predict Allied trade routes separately. The U-boats will then converge on the location of a merchant ship. The Germans were able to raid and sink these merchant ships efficiently. They planned to starve Britain and the Allied forces by cutting down their supply lines. However, the Allies adopted new tactics to take on the Wolfpacks. For instance, new ships called corvettes were constructed to combat the U-boats. While they were insignificant in battle, they were fast and could be built quickly at a low cost. They were perfect for convoy missions, for they could patrol and escort other ships. Here is a picture of a Castle-class corvette. It was equipped with sonar and radar. German U-boats also used radio to communicate amongst themselves. The Allies managed to determine where these radio waves were being sent using a device called the HFDF. The Allies could then use this knowledge to counterattack the German U-boats. Anti-submarine aircraft were also equipped with radar to spot the location of many silently submerged U-boats. The Allied forces were also enlightened with how the German Enigma worked, as they were able to crack German military messages and codes. The ultimate consequence was perhaps that Britain was able to hold its ground during the war. The supplies shipped across the Atlantic were essential to the war effort and Britain's survival.
The war also created many jobs, which helped Canada's domestic economy. The Battle of the Atlantic also resulted in some significant changes. Increasing their military strength, Canada began to build its Navy and Air Force. The Navy, in particular, grew from 13 ships, 1,819 sailors, to 400 ships and more than 100,000 sailors. The desperate times of war also changed society. Women during Battle of the Atlantic took on jobs like wireless operators, coders, drivers, and operational plotters. The Battle of the Atlantic was important for both Germany and Britain. Britain had to rely on foreign aid to continue supplying their troops and people. Germany, on the other hand, knew that Britain and the Allied forces would have to surrender if they weren't able to receive aid. Canada was a major contributor to the convoys to Britain. With Canadian help, the merchant navy delivered around 165 million tons of freight. The Battle of the Atlantic resulted in the Allies losing 3,500 merchant ships, 175 warships, and the deaths of 72,000 sailors. The German forces lost 783 U-boats and 30,000 sailors. The Battle of the Atlantic was the dominating factor all through the war. Never for one moment could we forget that everything happening elsewhere, on land, at sea, or in the air, depended ultimately on its outcome.
This quote is by Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 1940 to 1945. It describes how important it was for the Allied forces to win the Battle of the Atlantic over such a long period of time. One reason why this battle took so long was finding a new way to counter new technology. Naval warfare has greatly changed with the introduction of U-boats, as they could submerge silently underwater for up to 24 hours. And as long as the German Navy exists, it can send out more U-boats to interfere with overseas trades amongst the Allied forces. However, because of U-boats posing as a threat, we also see the emergence of anti-submarine warfare in World War II. We see the use of bigger ships, stronger aircraft, and advanced detectors to combat these U-boats in the Battle of the Atlantic. Ultimately, naval warfare has evolved just over the course of 20 years between World War I and World War II. With this, we come to the end of our presentation. Thanks for watching.